Welcome to the Shoreline, brought to you by Shores and Islands, Ohio, where finding your Lake Erie love is a sure thing. Thank you for joining us. I'm your host, Jill Bauer, PR Manager for Shores and Islands, Ohio. We bring you the Shoreline every week to give you the inside scoop on what's happening here in our island and coastal communities. August episodes of the Shoreline are brought to you by our neighbors at Downtown Fremont, Inc. Think Downtown Fremont. Shop, live, play. Supporting the community with local businesses and events in downtown and at the Fremont Community Amphitheater. Shop and support local in downtown Fremont, downtownfremontohio.org. So as we continue through the month of August, back to school and Labor Day weekend are just around the corner, and it seems like a good time to start previewing some of our area's awesome events for September, and to remind you that we are an all-seasons destination. After school starts is actually an amazing time to visit for folks without kids, empty nesters, couples getaways, or if you have real young kids who aren't in school yet. Come now, come when it's not as crowded, businesses are still rocking, and the weather is still gorgeous. Also, it's a great reminder that it's still island season well into September and October. Activities and events on the islands will go well through the end of October, so visiting the islands in the late summer months and the early fall months are actually ideal. There is so much going on. One of those early fall events on the island is the topic of our show today. Each September, the Put-in-Bay Airport shuts down for 3 days to host the annual Put-in-Bay Road Races reunion. Joining us on the program today is Robert Kanza. Robert was introduced to racing by his parents as a child in the 60s. They would take him to various sports car races at Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course, which is down in Morrow County. Then in the 80s, Bob joined a professional local sports car team, and he traveled with them. There he met his wife, who also joined the team, and racing became a family adventure. As Bob bought his first vintage car at the age of 24, then got married, and then immediately went racing. He raised his two boys at the track with giant earmuffs on their heads and teething on wrenches. Ouch. I don't know about teething on wrenches. Well, Robert has raced all over the country and even in Canada. His current car is a 1960 Austin Healey Sebring, which, unlike most of the current vintage racers, it's still street legal, so he actually drives it on the road. He's been racing at Put-in-Bay for the last 7 years and is now a part of the Put-in-Bay Sports Car Races Road Racing Committee and is responsible for the participants' reception. During the day, in his day job, Robert is a technical manual writer for Graco Inc. Welcome to the Shoreline, Robert.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you, Jill. Thank you, Shores and Islands. It's glad to be on. I'm very glad to be on here.
Good. Well, we're glad to have you. Let's start with a little bit of the history. Can you tell us about the origins of sports car racing at Put-in-Bay?
Oh, well, it goes all the way back through the early sports cars. So after the war, basically, a lot of people came home from England and overseas, and they had an affinity for seeing a lot of the little sports cars and little cars that were over there at that time. And they brought that enthusiasm over here. And people started buying sports cars, early MGs, not Porsches or anything quite at that time, but, different European sport cars were brought over. There wasn't a lot of them here in America yet. And just people started getting very enthused about that. There was sports car racing, pretty much all over different roads, all over the United States, but it was very, very popular on the East Coast, up through Ohio and Michigan and Wisconsin and just all over. Well, a perfect place for that was going to be Put-in-Bay. Now, there was a group at that time that started out. There was at that time they were called the Cleveland Sports Car Club. Very basic, and it was a bunch of enthusiasts that had their MGs and a few odd cars, and they would get together and have some events. And they were looking for a place to host a race locally for themselves. Put-in-Bay ended up being, let's call it South Bass Island.
Yeah, Put-in-Bay is the village.
Right, absolutely. But everybody kind of knows it as that. And so they went over to South Bass Island, and this was back in 1951 is actually when they were starting to go there. And he kind of checked it out, figured out, hey, we can use this road, that road, and the other road. And, of course, got permission from the village and the islanders at that time, so on and so forth. And the next year in 52, they hosted the first road races over there. Now, these were just using the streets and the roads as they
Right.
were. And, I mean, they had things designated and hay bales, marking off roads and everything like that where it needs to be, and just not too much crowd control at that time. but there was. And it was a long course. That was what was really interesting. It was a 3.1 mile course, which is actually really long.
Yeah.
And for those of us who've been to South Bass or Put-in-Bay and have rode their golf carts around, when you go down Langham Road, which is the long road across the airport, or on the other side of the island, when you go past Heinemann's Winery and the Goat and all that, that's Catawba, those are really long. So it was really unique to have this, have all these long roads, some sharp bends, and it went right through the middle of town, which was extremely interesting. Right past the bars and the restaurants at that time, back what was the across where the Colonial Motel was, which is the Beer Barrel right now.
Beer Barrel. Yep.
Right. And so, people would line up around the streets, and they would go ahead and have their little testing tuning things. There was a big garage there that they would go out of, and people would stay on the island. And it was the thing to do. It was the thing to see. It was quite a big event because sports car racing that time, it was new. It was novel. It was very fresh.
Well, I also imagine that back then, even then, it was unique to have an event on an island, right? I mean, a lot of, they were probably road races because there wasn't a whole lot of, like tracks yet in place. But to be able to travel over to an island with your race car and, be able to race around, like you said, there's straightaways, there's curves, I bet so much excitement for it. I bet that was probably pretty unique even back then.
Oh, absolutely. And like you say, it's sort of like, how many places would you take your sports car, race car over on a ferry to go get to a race? Well, we're doing that today, but back then it was, quite an opportunity.
Yeah. So the event actually did pause after 1963. Can you talk a little bit about why it ended and then what kind of brought it back to life?
Sure. Actually, the races were 52 through 59. Took a couple years off, and then 63. Well, for several reasons. Not necessarily the golf carts either. Basically, what happened was, the Ohio laws had changed, and there was no road racing allowed on roads anymore. Now, a lot of that was set up because, just kids in their cars were going up and down in drag racing streets, and so that became illegal. The other reason was a lot of the tracks at that time, or places where people were getting together to race, were becoming tracks instead of just on the streets. And a lot of this was, the crowds and legalities and just safety, so on and so forth. So because of that, they really couldn't do it on the roads anymore. But the Put-in-Bay sports car races was the last race ever held on public roads in the United States.
Really? And that would have been in 63?
Yes, and yeah, absolutely. So then few years went by, and people were always, there was always a great history there. And if anybody's ever been to the island, which I'm sure a lot of you have, you'll know that if you go there on a Sunday, they have these giant car parades, which are absolutely amazing and awesome. And there's quite a bunch of car enthusiasts on the island, and they have this big parade. So a lot of people would still relate going to the island with cars and everything. So they went ahead back in the 80s for a few years. They had these autocrosses there, and they would basically block off the streets around Devera Park and have these small autocrosses. And people would, some people would bring the old cars. Some people would bring, their newer cars in the 80s, Corvettes or a Camaro or whatever they had at the time. That lasted for a few years, but not long. And go forward a little bit. Yeah. There was a lot of people who had either, when they were kids, they saw these races at that time at Put-in-Bay, or they still had enthusiasm, or they were involved with a lot of road racing back on the mainland. And they're like, hey, why don't we go ahead and get all these cars and these people together that are still around, and let's just gather them all up and bring them back to Put-in-Bay. Well, they did. And there was a couple gatherings of just enthusiasts with the cars. Some of them were the original cars that ran there to begin with, and got themselves together. But they wanted to go a little step further. They're like,
that's what started the reunion. That's why it has kind of like the moniker of the road race reunion. It was people that raced during the 50s and 60s, and maybe some from the 80s then that came back and just. Originally, I think it started just kind of as like a get together. Let's get back together and reminisce about this, right?
Yeah. So, and that would be accurate that at one time it was called the reunion. Now it's just the put and base sports car races because
now it's an actual race again.
Oh yeah, it's grown. I mean, it's gotten very big, and it's that unique opportunity again to do something that's completely different. I mean, everybody loves going to a lot of the tracks around, and there's some beautiful road courses and tracks and some wonderful communities out there. But to be able to go ahead race on an island, I mean, gee whiz, right. I mean, you've got everything, all the charm the island has, and plus you're bringing your race car.
Let's say, let's be a little clear about the race. We're no longer racing on the roads.
Absolutely true. Right now, that what they do is we are working with Port Authority. Thank you. And they go ahead and they allow us 3 days to go ahead, shut down the airport during the day. Now we do still have to go ahead and have the mail plane in and out. So that could be very interesting.
Can't stop the USPS.
No, I think for the 1 day, the Miller Ferry, I believe, brings it over. However, so they shut it down for the 3 days. Now, over the history of the modern event, we've actually had to have it 4 days. We had quite a gale come through. I think it was 3 years ago now.
Oh no!
Oh yeah, and the storms just were not able to. Now we race in the rain. And we race in all kind of weather. However, we don't want our workers and everything standing out in a pouring thunderstorm. So
probably not real pleasant for spectators either.
Well, no, not at all. So yeah, they went ahead and they extended it 1 day for us. And that was fantastic of the Port Authority. So we thank them very much for working with us.
Yeah, that's amazing.
We use the airport, and it's a 1.2 mile course we made out of it. Not as long as the 3.1, but of course everything's safer now. I mean, using the airport, the spectators are placed on the other side of the fences. There's designated areas for them, and a lot of safety measures in place.
Well, let's talk about the cars that are participating in the race today, in the modern race. So they're vintage race vehicles. What makes and models would you expect to see participating?
Well, vintage is sort of a fluid situation. So people think of, vintage cars. We got these really old cars out there. But a vintage car can be anything that's sort of 25 years and older. So what that means is you may see a first generation Miata out there because they are that old and fall into that category. But you'll see everything from like these old MGs, or you could see an old Maserati out there, an Aston Martin, some of these really old, cool open wheel or, slightly closed wheel, big fender cars and everything. And those will be racing out there. But then it's all through the years. So anything from basically the mid 50s now through, it would be sort of like the later 70s. I mean, there's a fellow that races a Mustang out there. There's a guy with a Barracuda out there. There's some Corvairs. And even though you might not think of it as such, Pintos made awesome race cars. Oh, absolutely. Back in the day, they were an awesome race car. So you may see that out there, but you'll see like Datsuns and BMWs and so on and so forth. Now, nothing newer. I mean, these are older vintage cars, but absolutely fantastic. And a whole range of these. Cars that maybe you're not so familiar with, like my Austin Healey, perhaps. But yeah, you'll see Porsches out there, and you'll see Porsches that you're very familiar with, and some sort of like, man, I've never saw that before. What is it? It's like, well, that's a vintage Porsche. Huh. And so you'll get this whole range of a lot of obscure cars that you may have never even seen before, but they bring them out to the island.
So as far as the cars that are participating, are most of them year-round racers or racing in other places as well, and this is just part of a circuit, or are most of the contestants, really just here for this one race?
Well, the way this race is broke up is we have full race cars, and then we have exhibition cars. So what that means is, like you said, some of the race cars, yes, they race a lot of other places, as do we. I mean, this past year we've raced in Michigan, we've raced in Pittsburgh, and a lot of the other cars and participants will do that. So they make this, they put this on their schedule, and so they'll bring their race car to that. But there are other people that are exhibition cars, and so some of them are local. So there's a few cars that they live on South Bass Island, and they will bring them out for this event and this race. And there's exhibition cars as well. So you'll see some cars are sort of like, are they racing or not? Well, they may be going ahead and be putting in fast laps out there. But those are separate groups designated just for that. So there's the racing groups, and then there's cars that they're not racing, but they're doing fast laps out there. So there's a little bit of both.
So beyond the actual races, what are some of the other events that make the week special for all of those participating? What other kinds of things are going on throughout the week?
Well, when this started, and it's not completely untrue today, it was said that, hey, there was a bunch of people with race cars and different cars, and they were having a party, and a race broke out. And a lot of people say that. So there is a lot of different things going. Well, first of all, down at Heineman's Winery, they and the Cheese Haven go ahead and they support a huge car show. And a lot of the Islanders will bring their cars out for that. But then there's, cars from all over. So you'll have somewhere around 300 cars or so will show up for that car show. It's big. And they use all the lawn and the side lawn, so on and so forth. They have this beautiful car show, and people will dress up, which is really cool. So you'll have people kind of dressed up in vintage clothes, maybe to the era of their car, and it's a lot of fun. They give awards for some of the cars and everything like that, but just being there and participating is fantastic, and you don't know who you're going to be parked next to. It's really cool. So there's that.
Are there parties? Are there, I believe, and you can be more specific about when this happens, but there is a point where they do actually kind of try to replicate the original course and do kind of a parade lap on the island?
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, the same day as they have the car show. So what they do is they line the cars up and in as orderly fashion as they can, and this is all behind the police who give us a spirited drive, but very safe. Go ahead, they'll go ahead and line up all the the road exhibition cars, and they'll do like 3 laps around the old course, around the roads. And I mean, safely, they'll have all the streets blocked off that they need to. They have these flaggers, so on and so forth. And then, the spectators will line the streets, but the police will clear those streets for us and then lead us around. And then when they're done, we do the same with the race cars. And, like I said, it's a nice spirited drive, but everybody gets to really see. So you're driving by and there's people waving flags and cheering, and it's just a fantastic time. When that's done, everybody comes back, and there is for the participants, for the most part, there's a big wine and cheese gala event. It's a big reception, and we'll have that going on. And that's wonderful. We have a huge tent set up. One of the Islanders there goes ahead and owns a tent business, so they go ahead and put that up, big circus tent, and we have that. But then it doesn't stop there by any means. The next day, we have practices qualifying for the races later on that evening down at the Goat Restaurant. We have the rocker cover races. Now, when you're not building...
What is that? Please be more specific.
Yeah. So for a lot of us, it's sort of like, we spend a lot of our time working on our race cars. But when we're kind of done working on the race cars, we might have a little bit of spare time and definitely some spare parts. So what they'll go ahead and do is they'll take the rocker covers that cover the parts at the top of the engine, and we make a car out of them. And they have this little track.
What?
Now, if anybody's
I have not seen that part. So almost like a little RC?
No. Now, if you've ever gone to the Boy Scouts, if you've ever been to the Boy Scouts, they have these Pinewood
like the
Derby
soapbox
racers.
derbies. Okay, yeah.
Well, the soapbox derby's a little big, but the Pinewood Derby kids, exactly. And what they'll go ahead and do is they have these big rocker covers, or from their cars, whether it's a Jaguar, MGs, it doesn't matter what it is, and they put wheels on these, and they have races. Now that becomes a big party, and of course, going on with that. I mean, there's hamburgers and the beers flowing, so on and so forth. And it's a really, really good time. People dress up, people will cheer, and it goes on right until the nighttime, and that's a lot of fun there too. And then, of course, back the next day, there we are racing again. And of course, it all depends on the participant, where they're at, what they're doing. A lot of people go, the different bars are all participating. And
that was actually going to be my next question. How has the community embraced this event? How do local businesses work with this group coming to the island?
Well, because we're off season being September, they love it. We're bringing in a good amount of money, as you can imagine, because we have a lot of crews. So it's not just a person in their car. The car is bringing their wives, their kids, their friends, so on and so forth. And then, of course, we're bringing spectators in. So there's a lot of people who are going ahead, and in the off season, we're booking rooms.
And during the week, as you mentioned.
Yes. So we're booking rooms often for the entire week. And, of course, we're filling the bars and restaurants, whether it's Joe's on the one side of the island, or the Real Bar, or I can name all the different bars.
I bet you've been.
Oh yeah, and so it's just a matter of everybody embraces it because it's good, clean fun. Everybody is super respectable. They're bringing in good budget and finances for the island at that time when it normally wouldn't have a lot going on.
Right.
And they really like it. Plus, we go ahead, and the Put-in-Bay sports car races. We give back to our communities too. To thank the island and the community for what they're doing. We also go ahead and we're charitable back into the police. We're charitable back into the fire department, I believe, and there's some other local charities that we also give into. So a lot of it goes right back into the community as well. We are a non-profit. There's no profit. Matter of fact, we are 100% volunteers. Everybody doing this is doing it because they love it, they want to see it happen, and they're making it happen.
How big is your group, your committee that puts the event together?
Oh, boy. There is about a dozen, give or take, which is actually not very big for the size of the event. There's a few people who have been involved with this since the beginning, going back to 2010 and 2012 when the first races came back into life. So there's been people who've been doing it since then again. We have about a dozen people. My wife and I, Mary and myself, we were asked to go ahead and be part of the committee about 3 years ago. There was a need to go ahead and do some improvements in the one reception event. So we've been able to do that. And we love the races. We definitely love the island.
You were coming anyway, right? You were part of the race anyway. Oh, yeah. So it's great to get involved.
Yeah, exactly. And that way we can for our part, continue it, make it better, bring people in, and just try to make a wonderful event out of it. So we do our part, but there's a lot of people doing a lot of different things. It's quite an effort on everybody's part, Islanders and non-Islanders alike.
So your particular race car is a 1960 Austin Healey Sebring. Is that correct?
Sebring Sprite was. A lot of people would know it as at one time it was called, they're called Spridgets to people who would know them. But it's like a Bug-Eye Sprite or an Austin Healey Sprite or an MG Midget, sort of like that car. Ours is a little bit unique. It's fashioned after what was called a Sebring Sprite. And that's a little bit different. Well, bright yellow for one. It's easy to pick out from the crowd. And that's our flavor of how we like racing our car. What's unique about ours is we can still drive it on the street. So as long as we don't break it on that race day, we'll go ahead and when it's at home here, we'll take it out for ice cream.
Aww.
Yeah, we'll cruise around in it a little bit. Now, it's a race car. It doesn't like to behave too well. But, we'll go and do that. Matter of fact, we were in our local Memorial Day parade with the car. So we do a lot with it.
What's it like to race at Put-in-Bay, to be a part of, that island tradition? What does it mean to you?
Well, it's fantastic. Well, you're not only bringing back a bit of the history, you're making new history as you're being there. Seeing your name on the register, And, as you are a participant in this is fantastic. Being a part of that community where just people are either admiring your car or they're appreciating it. You get to talk to a lot of people, and there's so much enthusiasm for it, and you can help generate more of that enthusiasm. It's a fantastic thing, and it's just sort of like the community is great. The racing community they are a family. You see these people maybe 2-3 times a year. Now, the committee, as you can imagine, we have to meet often, but you're seeing these people 2 to 3 times a year, and it's a reunion of sorts whenever we see it, and you pick up where you left off, like best friends or good friends will do.
Sure.
And it's fantastic. Of course, you all have the focus of the race cars, even though everybody's a little bit different. And everybody is, when they're on the track, they're genuinely competitive, but nobody's out there to break each other's fenders. But we are genuinely competitive. This is real racing.
Now, is the race just for fun, or is there prizes involved?
No prizes. Your prize is saying that you were there.
Yeah, exactly.
or saying you finished, or it's bragging rights.
That bragging rights is important.
It is. It's like, hey, I did better this year than last year. It's sort of like, man, my times were better. And that guy I could never beat, I finally got around him, or.
Well, that's also why it's not worth damaging somebody's bumper or anything like that, because it's all in fun.
Yeah. And we try not to, but it is racing. On the greatest occasion, there are a little bump or a bruise. The straw bales we use are a lot harder than they look. So you don't want to hit those, nor do you want to go ahead and damage another competitor's car. But we are racing. Don't like to see it happen. There are penalties for that situation if it does, but it's not, we're not just pedaling it around there either. We're pushing some of these cars are, my car is 60 years old. There's cars out there 70 years old. And these guys are out there pushing them really hard and doing amazing things with these old cars that, okay, if you're in a brand new Corvette, you might be like, well, that doesn't look so fast. 70 years ago, you're flying in those cars. You're really pushing them to their limits and beyond. And so it's fantastic to do what we're still doing with these older cars.
Remind me, Robert, how many cars are out there for the races as part of the actual racing?
Like I said, we break it up into different groups. The whole participation is somewhere around, I think we've had a maximum of about 125, 130 cars maximum.
Okay. Do you have a limit on that, or are you still accepting new participants?
Anybody who wants to participate, please get a hold of us. We have a website, www.pigroadrace.com. If you're interested in entering your car or seeing if you're eligible, you could go do that. Now, as a race car, you're going to probably pretty much know about the situation already. Mm-hmm. As an exhibition car, you could also enter as well into those classes, and you can see whether or not your car is eligible as well. And there is a lot of eligibility openings. Yes, we are very welcoming of a lot of cars. Now, if you have a 57 Chevy out there or a huge old 52 Cadillac or something, you might want to think twice about what you're doing out there.
Right.
Because the course is tight, and so on and so forth. But if you have, anything in between, an older Mustang, Corvette, who knows, you might have an older Porsche, an Alfa Romeo, or something really odd sitting in your garage that you're sort of like, hey, I want to get this thing out. Yeah, this is a place that you may be able to do that. Now, the cars are checked for safety, of course. We have liabilities like everybody else. That's very important.
Sure.
The race cars have to fit a very strict set of rules. We got roll bars, and we got fuel cells, belts, and so on and so forth.
I assume the racers are wearing helmets, things like that.
Oh yeah, we have helmets, full fire suits.
It's real racing.
Oh yeah. Oh, it's absolutely real racing. To be in the races, you also have to be certified. You have to have a license.
Okay.
Or have to have gone through the appropriate schools to go racing. We're just not going to take anybody off the street to just go out there and thrash your car around.
Oh, absolutely. That makes sense. I guess the question was more just like, is there still a possibility of somebody just learning about this event and, maybe they're from out of state and they're like,
Yes.
I want to take my car to an island in Lake Erie and be part of this 3-day event. That sounds really cool.
Yes.
From a
Absolutely.
spectator standpoint, Robert, can you talk a little bit about, do you have to buy tickets? Do you have to register, or how is it for somebody who's just like, man, I really want to go see these cool sports cars?
Right. The only ticket you have to buy is on the ferry to come over. That's it. And, you could buy the food at the restaurants, go ahead and participate in that. We have food trucks that actually come to the track. But you just go ahead and you participate with the whole thing. It's free otherwise. It's absolutely free to come watch the races or anything. There's no tickets to be bought or anything. What's really awesome about this track, though, is because it's an airport and kind of flat. I mean, we got a couple little hills that you'd be kind of surprised about, but you could see like 80% of the racing. We have places for the spectators that are set aside, and they can go ahead. We have a few areas for chairs, and there's some park benches and stuff like that. There's a whole line of area across the fences that could come around. So there's plenty of places for spectators to come on and see. There's local parking, or there's other places that you can go and park and bring your golf cart over, or you could bring a cab over from the other parking spaces or such, or just walk over. It's a small island, So for spectators wise, it's awesome, and you're pretty close to the cars when they're running, and of course, you're welcome to go ahead and talk to the crews and the drivers as long as they're not pulling an engine out, and because the paddocks are free. Sometimes you go to these big tracks and big races, you have to pay for this, pay for that, pay for the other thing. It's not like that here.
Yeah.
So it's like, hey, it's like, oh, I saw this most cool vintage Jaguar. I want to go see it. Let's go see it. Well, you can go up to talk to the guy about it. And unless he's busy with his wrenches underneath the hood, he's going to talk to you.
I was just going to say, I bet they're more than willing to share. That people love to talk about their cars.
Oh, they love their cars, and they love the enthusiasm of the people. And everybody likes a little bit of ego, right? So we like bragging about what we do, and especially, and it's great for families, and it's great for kids. It's in September in the middle of the week. We get it. But you know what?
Hey, I said at the beginning, there's a lot of people that have kids that aren't in school yet. If you've got young kids, get them into racing early, like you did.
Oh yeah, bring them a set of earmuffs because the car's allowed, and bring them, and it's going to be like nothing they've ever seen before. Sports car racing is very, very unique. It's very interesting. There's a lot going on. Well, it is to me, anyways, and it was enough that when I was a child, I loved it, and here I am.
Yeah.
So for spectators, it's absolutely fantastic. Bring your sunscreen, for those sunny days. Bring an umbrella if you want. Yeah, it's absolutely fantastic. And if you've got a vintage car, you bring it. Somebody's like, oh, I've got my old Miata or Porsche Boxster. I've got this whatever it is, and it's sort of like, it'd be kind of cool. Well, bring it. Put it out in the parking lot and come and enjoy the races.
Yeah. Well, so then just kind of to sum it up, for somebody who's never been to the races, what would you recommend? Why should somebody make the trip? Why should somebody come to Put-in-Bay in September for the Put-in-Bay road races?
It is something that you've never seen before. You've got an island. You got a bunch of enthusiasts with fast vintage cars, and some of these cars you may have never seen before. And they're all putting them to the test. They're racing against each other with real racing. You're going to see a lot of enthusiasm. It's not going to cost you any more than that ferry trip over, unless you want to buy a lunch or something, which I'd highly recommend. And you're going to be around a lot of other people enthused about the same thing, watching a fantastic event. Even when the weather's not so great, we're still out there racing. It's going to be something very different.
Yeah, for sure. Well, Robert, remind us what the dates are for this year's event.
All right. That would be September 16th, 17th, and 18th. Although you will find a lot of us out there all week long.
The whole week, yeah.
Personally, we're out there from weekend to weekend. But that's us, and not everybody is.
And that's where Shores and Islands can help as well. If you are interested in staying for multiple days, because it sounds like there's so much going on, we can help you find places to stay. The ferry system is very easy to work. And, even if there might not be as much lodging available on the island, because a lot of the racers are staying on the island, but we can help you stay, in the Port Clinton, Catawba area, and then just take the ferry over to enjoy the events.
It's a wonderful event. I mean, it was wonderful enough that when we participated for the first time, it's like, oh, this is where we belong. This is what we want to do. And and if you want to, you could dress up to it. You know, I mean, look at some of the old vintage pictures of people like that. And there's people dressed up. So you yourself, if you come, you could participate in your own way, you know, and you can make yourself a part of that event.
It sounds like such a party, and it sounds so interesting too for anybody that's a fan of racing or a fan of vintage cars or a fan of sports cars. You know, just there's it appeals to so many different people. The dates again are September 16th, 17th, and 18th. And Robert, can you tell us one more time what the website is to find the full schedule of events and to learn how you can participate?
Absolutely. www.PIBRODRACE.com. So that's PIBRoadrace.com.
Make your plans. Come out for the Put-in-Bay sports car races, September 16th through 18th. And thank you, Robert, for educating us and telling us all about the event today.
Oh, thank you.
Special thanks to Robert Kanza from the Put-in-Bay Sports Car Races Racing Committee for joining us today. And a reminder that all of August's episodes of The Shoreline are brought to you by Downtown Fremont, Inc., so special thanks to them for their continued support. As always, thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this podcast, please be sure to like and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts so you don't miss a minute of the action here in Shores and Islands, Ohio. You can also find more information, including past episodes of the podcast, online at shoresandislands.com. And we will see you next time on The Shoreline.